The exclusive priority of the Government of Canada on the international scene should be to manage our relations with other countries in order to protect and further the interests of Canadians. Unfortunately, that's not what's happening. There is a growing trend to dilute national sovereignty and to favor increased international policy coordination, as well as the redistribution of wealth from rich to poor countries under the supervision of the United Nations. This globalist vision has been heavily promoted in Canada under Justin Trudeau, who believes that we are a post-national state with no core identity. Over the past several years, Canada has signed many UN treaties, accords, and compacts on issues ranging from global warming to migration and sustainable development that tie us to this corrosive globalist agenda. Meanwhile, as our national debt continues to mount, the Liberal government devotes more and more resources trying to solve social and economic problems in other countries. It spends billions of dollars every year to help countries in Africa and Asia build roads, educate children, and reduce their CO2 emissions. It plans to spend $1.4 billion every year to offer abortion and reproductive health services to women in developing countries. The United Nations is a dysfunctional organization where non-democratic countries, because of their large numbers, have the most influence. This leads to ridiculous situations. For example, several of the member states in the UN Human Rights Council are among the worst human rights offenders in the world. As one country among 200, Canada has no interest in seeing the UN grow into a more peaceful, quasi-world government. There is no persuasive moral or economic efficiency argument for development aid. Countries that remain poor are those where governments are still crushing private initiative. Until they liberalize their economy and free their citizens, no amount of development aid will solve their problems. On the contrary, it creates a cycle of dependency and often helps these authoritarian governments stay in power. Canada needs a common sense foreign policy focused on the security and prosperity of Canadians, not an ideological approach that compromises our interests. A People's Party government will continue to work closely with our allies to maintain a peaceful international order, but will not get involved in foreign conflicts unless we have a compelling strategic interest in doing so. Prioritize relations with the United States and work with the Trump administration or whoever occupies the White House to reinforce our friendship and cooperation. Withdraw from all UN commitments, including the Global Compact on Migration and the Paris Agreement on Climate Change that threatened our sovereignty, and reduce our presence in UN institutions to a minimum. Liberalize trade with as many countries as possible, while ensuring our security and protecting our economy from the threat of potentially hostile foreign investors. Save billions of dollars by phasing out development aid and focus Canadian international assistance exclusively on emergency humanitarian aid in cases such as health crises, major conflicts, and natural disasters.